Website is the face of your business. Social media is the voice of your business. Software systematize your business. Mobile apps take your brand to the client's fingertips. Are you there when your customers search you online? Exciting web, cite him. Let your tech do the talking.
Inspired moments with Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts.
Website is the face of your business. Social media is the voice of your business. Software systematize your business. Mobile apps take your brand to the client's fingertips. Are you there when your customers search you online? Exciting web, cite him. Let your tech do the talking.
Inspired moments with Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts.
Website is the face of your business. Social media is the voice of your business. Software systematize your business. Mobile apps take your brand to the client's fingertips. Are you there when your customers search you online? exciting web, site it. Let your tech do the talking.
Inspired moments with Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts.
Website is the face of your business. Social media is the voice of your business. Software systematize your business. Mobile apps take your brand to the client's fingertips. Are you there when your customers search you online? Exciting web, site it. Let your tech do the talking.
Inspired moments with Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts.
Website is the face of your business. Social media is the voice of your business. Software systematize your business. Mobile apps take your brand to the client's fingertips. Are you there when your customers search you online? Exciting web, site it. Let your tech do the talking.
appears to be the best of whatever it represents. It's a word that raises people's expectation, whether talking to about a clothing for a woman or a location for people to go live or stay there. You pay for recognition, but probably the most important thing it represents the delivery on the promise of the brand's name. And that's the definition given by none other than the president of and CEO of the Four Seasons Hotel. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Cinnamon Future of Tourism webinar series. And today, our topic is basically going to be future of luxury travel, opportunities and challenges for Sri Lanka. As you know, Cinnamon Future of Tourism has been has organized several series of webinars and the conferences to bring the industry and Sri Lanka as well as overseas. And eminent panelists have actually joined in the past, and we believe this is as part of our thought leadership event so that the industry together can move and actually steer towards this during this travel period. So let me just give you a bit of confirmation into the current context that we are working on. The luxury travel is actually a subject on the Arctic on a famous yacht. For another, it could be a reassurance of having that dietary requirement and given to the doorstep without even them knowing about it, or a wardrobe waiting inside the room without much of making huge noise by the hotel or wherever they see one having their favorite dish to the respective places and having that particular dining in that alone. And this is actually the key chapter in the whole luxury travel. Research from Travel New York Trafalgar revealed that the people today see travel really as an opportunity to step away from daily life and pressure, but also to be surprised and challenged and to learn and appreciate, experience something new. And this is to see a complete new dimension of the luxury travel. At the same time, luxury travel has become mass in other contexts. Everyone wants a touch of luxury in their lives, and this previously exclusive market is now being accessed by people from many walks of life and no longer just a connected few or very wealthy, and it's being shared by many others. Luxury travel is now desire and expect memorable experiences that they can only share with their network of friends and family through social media and short term, but also have their life experience ultimately in the long term so that they have a long lasting change in their lives. The industry has had to adapt and cater to this new modern traveler that wants far more than just a room with a view, with an expensive bed, etc. And the good news is that coming to the party is creating luxury travel market that is dynamic, exciting, and more appealing than ever. And that's a challenge for the industry and for destinations. People want to explore their passion through bucket list experiences, such as getting a ticket to a major event like an Olympics, Super Bowl event, going there, private tours of places like Vatican after hours. Shoppers want appointments as high-end stores as Hermes to purchase signature items like a Birkin bag. And travelers don't just want any type of holiday. They want boutique, exclusive, elusive, personalized holidays that offer authentic experience and instill a greater connection to the present moment, destination, and to the local people. The global luxury travel ecosystem, the global one, of activities valued at 1.54 trillion provides employment for over 62 million people. And all the global population, the wealth they control is 94 trillion, and the high spending supports the livelihoods of the incredible number of business owners around the world. And this global luxury travel universe is valued at 2.05 trillion as of today. Luxury travel is a vital component in the distribution of wealth across the globe, and that is how it's been distributed among many economies for them to share. However, the coronavirus has strongly impacted the way the consumer perceive their financial situation. That's something we need to understand at this point. This sentiment has particularly affected the high income and also consequently more strictly necessary. Is it true and relevant for the high net worth individuals also? That's a question we're going to discuss today. Altagama, in association with the Boston Consultancy Group, estimated that COVID the global crisis will lead to between 30 billion to 40 billion drop in sales in luxury industry. Spending in the luxury sector is often taking process and reasoning, but more emotions and feelings taking place. Customers may indeed be willing to go back to their life from the pandemic period, enjoying luxury service, including luxury travel, entertainment, food and beverage, and various other things which they missed during this whole pandemic period and which they continue to miss. So both luxury products and services are bound to be popular again, and these are the equation that we are going to look at it. Luxury brands are based on stories and heritage, and this is unique time for companies to show what the values truly are and how much they are actually prepared to give support to these values. Bulgari has turned its perfume factories into hand sanitizer manufacturers, whereas Armani Group has produced hospital gowns. Many fashion brands have actually turned their whole factories into sewing machines and the masks, which are high in demand worldwide. People will value authenticity and meaningful values for more than ever before. And finally, after months of isolation and anxiety, customers are world over will want to experience life again. Companies which will figure out how to experience and instead of services will be leading the way. And this $2.05 trillion market is waiting for us to gain momentum. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why we have a very eminent panel today who's going to share their views and talk about the luxury travel. And so most after discussion on topic, there's a very, very hot in Sri Lanka as well. So today we have a very, very interesting panel. Let me briefly explain to you, otherwise I will not be doing the justice to them. Harry Fowles is the International Luxury Travel Mart Sales Manager for Asia Pacific. As you know, ILTM, we know the International Luxury Travel Mart is a global leading exhibition event which brings the very best travel advisors, buyers to meet with the very from all of the destinations across the world. And ILTM Khan is a flagship event. We should be celebrating its 20th year in 2021. And I'm happy to say that I was actually one of the persons invited for the very first ILTM in Cannes. And I was actually flown in by ILTM and I was based in France. So it's a very pleasant experience, and I never thought it would grow. And I basically remember something. I asked what's the difference between ILTM or WTM, and they said we believe in more people in stands, less people in corridor. Interesting thought. Thank you, Harry, for joining us at a very short notice. Kelly Beckwith, co-founder and director of social media. And branding recommendations, a digital marketing and social media agency, and Asia's first influencer travel agency. And Singapore-based organization has emerged as a market leader in luxury travel, gaining loyal leadership and database of wealthy travelers due to its top Google-ranked luxury articles and corporate partnerships. We have Miguel Tuna, whom I know actually a long time ago, Sri Lanka In Style. That's the very first initiative of luxury travel to the country. The Chief Experience Officer, Miguel is an accomplished and very successful orientation entrepreneur with extensive experience in building innovative travel and tourism business in Sri Lanka. His expertise includes business startups, including upmarket tourism, tourism digital marketing, brand strategy, and management consultancy. He quickly actually co-founded T-Trails Private Limited, today one of the leading luxury hotels in Sri Lanka. And Miguel has co-founded 4 innovative specialist tourism business in Sri Lanka since then: Thailand and Sri Lanka In Style Group, Pepper, Fabulous Getaway, and Pepper is still working as one of the experiential development initiative in Sri Lanka. So then we have Divya Khan, editor-in-chief, Condé Nast Traveler magazine, joining us. And Divya Khan is a writer and editor based in Mumbai, India. She received the Robert Lang Award for creative writing and prestigious Brackenridge Fellowship from University of Honors College. Divya was involved in magazine publishing, has been part of their core team to launch 5 international magazine titles in India, and she has written extensively on arts, culture, lifestyle, travel, and she has also interviewed several luminous personalities, including film stars, celebrities, artists, and authors around the world. Finally, we have Justin Waterridge, Managing Director of Steps Travels Luxury Holidays, who wanted a very, very brief introduction himself. Justin Mortgage is a managing director and also specialist to operate Steps Travels, and he has been with Steps Travels since 2012, and before that, 5 years preceding, he was the managing director of Abercrombie and Kent UK, which is one of the leading tour operator in UK. So with that, I will just quickly move on to the discussion that we have, and just to maybe give a little bit of understanding from our perspective. Just wanted to first question I would like to basically ask the direction to Miguel, and or at least to ask the question on of all of you to involve in it. What is basically there's a lot of discussion on what luxury travel is. So I will basically first throw this question to Miguel and then to the others as well. What is this upmarket tourism or the luxury tourism means? Is it someone who spends over $300 per room in 5-star? And the world is getting poorer and poorer. So is there a scope for the luxury? So Miguel, will you explain what exactly do you mean or the definition of luxury travel? Glad your mic needs to be on. Okay, so let me. Since we have, let's maybe. I think Miguel needs to join us back. Kelly, since you're part of the whole luxury travel, etc., may I throw that question to you as well? What is the solid definition that can be given for the luxury travel?
When I think of luxury travel, I think of curated experiences, private butlers, Mr. Fridays, and also all-inclusive packages. We've had a few travel experiences in the last year or two where you turn up to the resort and you don't look at a price. Like, you don't look at a menu with a food price, you don't look at an activity price. You turn up to the resort and everything's inclusive. So you pay the fee to begin with, but then you don't look at a price tag afterwards. So I believe that the luxury travel are these unique experiences, but also, just everything being all-inclusive to give the guests that complete feeling of relaxation.
Okay. Divya, would you like to add something into that? And because we need to put a very solid foundation to the discussion, what do you mean by luxury travel here? To you?
Sure. I think when we discuss luxury travel, of course, there's always a price tag attached. But the truth is that the more we go along, and I think especially in a post-COVID time of travel, that the price tag is going to matter less and the experience and personalization is going to matter a lot more. And I think that's what's actually going to define luxury travel for us all in the future. So what people really are looking for today is much more purposeful travel. I think that they come in knowing what it is they want. The expectations in the luxury travel segment are, of course, extremely high. Nothing is cookie cutter. Everything is meant to be customized. And as Kelly mentioned, everything has to be all included. I think that's a trend that we're seeing as well. And I anticipate that we'll see more and more. So I think that those are the sort of key trends we'll see. I think that wellness is going to play a huge part. Overall, holistic health and well-being is going to play a huge role in our definition of what luxury travel is. And I think for us, more so than anything, this time, especially during the pandemic, has been a time when people have felt really trapped where they are. And what they're really looking for is nature and to be outdoors. And there's an all newfound respect, I think, for the environment, for just being out in the outdoors, really sort of appreciating scenic beauty, beautiful coastline. The more we talk to our audiences, the more, they keep telling us how much they miss the sound of the waves and, really specific sort of things like that. And I think that the appreciation that people are going to have now for travel is just at an all-time high, the interest as well as the appreciation. Luxury travelers are, of course, very frequent travelers, and I think they've taken a lot for granted over the years. We're so used to being on a plane so quickly, so frequently every week that I think this time of staying still really has heightened everybody's appreciation for travel. So I think that's what we're going to see more and more of. People are really going to know what they want. They're going to be very specific about it. They're going to want very singular, unique experiences that are tailor-made for them. And the expectation when they get there is going to be extremely high.
Can I just, maybe I'll jump in there and add to that if I may. I totally agree, it's all about experience, but I think that yes, it will be less hedonistic, and I think that it's about space and pace. I think that people will travel, hopefully they'll travel a little bit less, but spend longer in country when they do there, and more on the experience, the positive impact, and I think provenance will come in there, sort of where things are coming from. I think that'll be an important part of luxury travel going forward.
Okay, great. I think that's a very good solid foundation in terms of what we have. So we will basically understand that that concept and then move on for the next question as well. Let me see whether I can actually share something from you, another presentation which we have a slide from what we have. In the meantime, is Mikhail, are you also can join? Can you connect to us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Miguel, fine. Yes. Super.
Right, okay. So am I to answer the question about luxury, what is luxury, or do we move on to the next one?
Yeah, please answer the question, yes.
Well, no, I just was going to say that that luxury, I mean, in terms of what the question was, what are the components or what are the elements of luxury? And I think that, you know, when we think of luxury, we see, you know, we think of the when we get together to speak about luxury, industry folk, we tend to speak of the luxury segment. But I think it's important to draw a distinction between the luxury segment and the concept of luxury, because the concept of luxury is really very much a state of mind, you know, and it cuts through, you know, different price points. You were asking, you know, what's the price point beyond which it's a luxury traveler and so on and so forth. It cuts through different price points. But if we're talking about the actual luxury segment, then, you know, there's the obvious stuff like, you know, people staying in, you know, this is just a broad definition. It's not so much, it doesn't apply to right now, but, you know, we see people, you know, we think of people staying in top hotels, driving around in luxury vehicles and taking helicopters and things like that. We think of butlers and concierges and things like that. But as I said, I think we just need to step back a second, because you know, luxury is a feeling, in a sense that, you know, it is subjective, so to speak. And I think it is important to make that distinction, because, you know, no one's going to come to Sri Lanka just because we have helicopters and luxury vehicles and great hotels. They come to Sri Lanka for other reasons, and those same reasons cut through all the other segments as well. And if we want people to experience luxury, we need to concern ourselves not only with incredible logistics and great hotels, but we need to concern ourselves with other things we're going to talk about today, like sustainability and, you know, making sure Sri Lanka is, you know, remains authentic and interesting and, you know, a great journey.
Okay, super, thanks. So this is basically one of the research that's coming out to understand the various types of luxury travel that is available. So what we call hierarchy of luxury travel needs. So on the bottom of the pyramid, you have trusted travel guardian, which means advice, service, security of information, convenience. So you look at that type of luxury holidays and getaway. So when you go up a little bit, you're looking at service levels, door to door on trip, that you're more concerned on how you do at the airport, special services, business class travel, etc. Then you look at product quality standards at every stage, you know, whether they have the proper F&B sanitation or sanitation levels, whether you have enough cleansing process, all that what you're looking for in terms of quality and the standards. Then you actually elevate yourself further into the indulgence experience that we discussed about, needs and exceeds. And then authentic experience, you're looking at the same time, more cultural, no mass travel kind of a thing. Then you further expand yourself into a more exclusive element, unique and rich. Then, of course, finally, you're looking at more VIP and private and security kind of a driven more yachts, private yachts, that kind of a travel. So sometimes you have one travel, you may have all these, or sometimes you'll be happy with one of those elements. So higher you go, and different types of travel experiences that you're looking for. But the most essential is that all these areas here can be defined as part of the pyramid of the entire luxury travel. And this is basically how the trending destinations account for 467 billion. So it's interesting that, where India is concerned, there's 11 billion a market there. So within and outside, people are coming in. So that could be another opportunity for Sri Lanka to look at it, where there is certain segment that already coming into Sri Lanka based on this research. And also when you look at, we discussed a little while ago, the various type of luxury market. So the highest luxury segment here is for adventure and safari. You have the lowest for customized and private vacations, but the adventure and safari, Sri Lanka is actually we also have big five in the country. And therefore, as a result, we have all these different whales and the elephants and leopards, etc. Highest density, we can actually get something out of it. Then small group travel, the other one is culinary and shopping. So we have actually looked at culinary element shopping maybe very soon. Another almost 1.8 million square feet of shopping coming to Sri Lanka within the next 2-3 years, new shopping malls. Finally, if I may just go to the other side of the presentation. Yeah, let me. And this is where basically in terms of spending in 2019 and 2026, the millennials and the Generation X, baby boomers and silver hair. So the millennials group segment is projected to grow with fastest net annual growth during the forecast period. So that's what this particular graph shows us. So that's millennials are something we need to actually focus on. And then if you look at it, absolute luxury segment is expected to grow at a highest CAGR annual growth rate of 8.1% during the forecast period. So we're looking at more absolute luxury as opposed to the accessible luxury in the pyramid. So these are basically some of the slides that we'd like to share with you, and this will be available in the Future of Tourism website as well, so that we can actually start taking from there the details. Right. So with that question, we discussed about what is the research is coming out. There are basically 8 components of luxury travel which is coming up. So which is namely innovation, new service, style, forward-thinking marketing strategies, exclusivity, contemporary ways of getting engaged, personalization, and pricing. So these are 8 things. So we quickly move on to 2 of these for each speaker. I'll start with Miguel again. Miguel, what is very quickly within a minute, what do you think the role of innovation and new service and style, these 3 components in luxury travel?
Well, I think they play a huge role. I mean, innovation is important in the sense that if you take, for instance, if you take the view that having private access to a particular place, for instance, here in the case of Sri Lanka, or if not private entirely, but a small group access to a place like the Temple of the Tooth or Sigiriya, then that is very important. Now, of course, innovation needs to come from the people that are in charge, so to speak, to ensure that the luxury traveler, in this case, who's prepared to pay way above the average entrance fee for a very sort of a private viewing of these very special places, is given the opportunity to do so. So it's moving from plain vanilla chocolate and strawberry type of products to things that are a little bit more nuanced. And there are examples of this all around the world, in Paris, in the Louvre, or in the Prado, Madrid, or you can gain private access by paying a little bit more. But here, so the archaeological department needs to be open to to these types of innovation, so to speak. So I mean, that's just one example, but it is. So I think innovation is important. Exclusivity is very important in terms of satisfying, the needs, if you like, or catering to the luxury traveler, and they're certainly prepared to pay for it. I've lost you.
Yeah. So, Divya, I will just move on to you now. What is the role do you think which forward-thinking marketing strategies and exclusivity will play in luxury travel?
Well, I think Miguel sort of touched upon this already. A lot of these components sort of bleed into each other, but naturally, the need to be innovative at the moment is at an all-time high. I think if anyone is not currently pivoting in terms of what their strategy is, that it's impossible for them to survive. We've seen a lot of this start to happen already within the country. So, for instance, if you look at most places across the world at the moment, they're all completely shifting strategies or have already shifted strategies towards the domestic market. And so what they're actually offering in terms of experiences is completely different to what they would normally offer an international traveler who was visiting. We're also seeing that, for example, in India at the moment, we expect for the next 2 to 3 months to be completely sort of all of the luxury tourism circuit is now pivoting to attract the Indian traveler, which is quite unusual for a lot of the properties who are extremely, up to 90% of their revenue usually comes from the international market. So they're having to work very hard to actually attract an Indian traveler for the first time, and they're doing it quite innovatively. I think at the moment, obviously what's hygiene at the moment is to make sure that your cancellation charges are looked into, that you're very flexible in terms of booking. Those are, sort of immediate hygiene matters that I think companies should be looking at. But beyond that, I think a lot of people have taken a very creative route right now through content marketing. Even if they're not spending across other channels, looking at their own social media channels, creating content from within the properties. We've seen great examples of, for example, in-house chefs who are now doing cooking lessons and demonstrations online. So there's a lot of ways to actually continue your marketing and to make sure that you're staying in touch with your audience, whether the old audience that you're looking to bring back at some point or looking at brand new audiences, using your own channels and using the resources that you have without having to spend money on any marketing at the moment, unless you can afford to. So we're seeing great examples of that from actually all across the world. And I think we're going to see more and more as we go along until people actually feel like they're at a position to start spending money on third-party channels.
Okay, great. Kelly, I will just ask one question regarding the key 8 components of luxury travel. The contemporary ways to get engaged with the affluent customer. Is there any change in that context, or will you be able to add something very quickly within the next minute?
Yeah, definitely. We've touched on it already. It's so important now to be creative. I think people are going to travel less, but when they travel, they're going to spend more. And as a resort or a hotel, how do you stand out against your competitors? So I think creativity is key. A strong SEO is very important to reach your target market. Work out what they want, what they're Googling for, and make sure that they find you. And if luxury is the focus, then make sure they find you via the luxury keyword search. I think a strong social media presence is very important, especially if a lot of resorts or hotels have lost their marketing budget. Then they need to focus on their own accounts and get their own accounts up to scratch, grow their own social media followings. There's many creative ways to do it. You can align partnerships with relevant brands, giveaways, influencers. There's plenty of ways to attract a lot of people and create a lot of brand awareness without having to spend a lot of money.
All right, super. So finally, Harry, I'll just ask the question of the role of personalization and pricing. Do you think those 2 components are also very important in luxury travel?
I think without question, we've spoken about personalization already. I mean, that is a big part of what luxury means. It's having that experience for the beholder who's traveling to your country or to your destination. Talking about sort of having bespoke feeling, having that feeling of that they're having an experience which is unique. That feeling that, this is something special. That's really, really important to the traveller coming to your hotel, to your destination, or to your experience. So without question, this is something which has always been important in luxury travel, and of course is more important than ever. With regards to pricing, Of course, that right now we're in an economic crisis, particularly in the Western world. But the good thing is that in the luxury segment, that survives. The very wealthy people, even in a crisis like this, still have the money, and they really want to travel right now. The research that we've done as part of ILTM has really been looking about what are these guys thinking about at the moment? What do they want? And of course, price is always important. But really, these guys now are keen to get out there. They want to travel. They want to go to destinations. And so if you can come up with a great value opportunity where you can offer them something which is personalized, an experience which is new, and something which they've not experienced in a while. A lot of people have been stuck in their homes like we are now for 3 to 6 months. So when the airlift comes back and when people can start to go on flights and start to travel again, it's really important that for everyone across the world, but particularly in Sri Lanka, that you come and really offer that opportunity and that real value, that really value point for any particular customer. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But of course, I think all these things we're talking about are absolutely critical. And should be in your thinking as as a DMC, as a hotel owner, or as a general manager of any property. All these ideas need to be in your plan and in your thinking in terms of making sure that we bounce back from this economic crisis.
All right, great. Okay, can we just I'll come back to the question with what are the key trends that you have seen during the last year or so? Maybe some of the changes that we're going to go. We'll discuss the COVID impact later. But what are the key trends that you have seen in the last 2-3 years where luxury travel is concerned?
Yeah, definitely sustainability focused. People want to travel that's eco-friendly. They want to go to a resort that offers unique experiences and resorts that are self-sustainable. For example, it could be that the resort is growing their own vegetables. And you're eating, plant-based food within the restaurant. This seems to be a key trend we're seeing a lot of at the moment. And definitely wellness. I mean, wellness is a sexy word. Everybody is starting to use wellness in their keyword searches when looking for travel. They want to go on a holiday where they're feeling more revitalized and more fit than before they started the holiday. It seems to be a trend moving to sort of like the two sort of keywords are eco and wellness.
Justin, since this came up with the question of the wellness and the ecotourism and sustainability, can you elaborate a little more? And so you are selling a lot of packages as well. What is the link between the luxury tourism and sustainability? And is that basically a perception where luxury tourism is basically to solve the tourism, the untouristing aspect of it or the unexpected aspect of it, where people are looking for a bit off the beaten track, less tourists coming in. And as a result, we need to actually look at more quantity or rather more quality than quantity and going away from mass tourism. And so what is this link that you have seen personally or from your organization in the last few years?
Well, as Miguel said, this is something that's it cuts across all trends. It's not something just in the luxury segment. I think travel is a privilege. We have the wonderful opportunity living in a great planet. It's a fragile planet. And so we and all travellers, whether luxury or otherwise, need to look after that. And I think that we need to make sure that when we do travel, it has a positive impact, and that when that it's an investment in a wider world. And I would advocate some sort of low volume, high value, such as Botswana, or even closer to home for Sri Lanka, something like Bhutan. I think that's the kind of travel that I would advocate.
Okay, great. So let's move into a debate that we need to move in, and I'll move into Mikhail. In the recent past, there's a big discussion and debate within the context of especially in the post-COVID that Sri Lanka should move on to at least concentrate on upmarket tourism or the luxury tourism. So we gave the definition and the pyramid very clear. What does that mean? And then actually we really focus on it. Now, if you look at, I've analyzed the room numbers in Sri Lanka, only about 3,000 five-star beds that we have. Little less than about 1,000 boutique rooms that we have. So in that context, so Sri Lanka has enough products to cater to the need of the luxury in terms of infrastructure, the hotels and concern, and the experiences are concerned. Is it something practical, commercial, viable business model, or is it something we haven't paid enough attention? And in the post-COVID area, what do you think where Sri Lanka should be focusing on? And the challenges and opportunities in this area where luxury tourism is concerned?
Okay. Well, I think Sri Lanka, to be honest, since 2005, when we started to see the first boutique hotels appear in the country, has had a luxury product. And I used to go to the ILTM every year. Well, I still do, but I used to go those days, and I was very proud to represent Sri Lanka because I sort of, even though I didn't have much of a background in tourism at the time, but I was just completely convinced that this product was second to none, really. And that was those days, and it was even during the war. So then, fast forward to now, and what you have is you have you've seen 15 years of development here in Sri Lanka. I think the inventory of rooms that cater to the luxury traveler, so-called luxury traveler, or certainly the discerning affluent consumer, maybe he's not flying in helicopters around, but he's on a tailor-made holiday, and he's the number of rooms, the inventory of rooms. To tell you the truth, I was thinking about this question, and to me, it's actually quite right now. I think we're in a pretty sweet spot. I mean, yes, we could do with a few more rooms over Christmas, but other than that, I think I don't find it that difficult to put together a fabulous holiday around Sri Lanka for people staying in really, really nice places. From time to time, you hit an availability issue, but you kind of need to work around it. So that's as far as hotels are concerned. As far as experiences as well, we've seen 10 years of the paradigm of experiential travel in Sri Lanka has resulted in there being a lot of interesting experiences for people to do beyond Sigiriya, Polonnaruwa, and the Temple of the Tooth. You have interesting people along the way. You have adventure travel and so on and so forth. So I think there's plenty of things for people to do. This country is small, but it's super rich in terms of experiences and super deep in terms of the depth of the experience and culture and things like that. So the things that remain to be done here are things like fixing congestion issues and sustainability issues at Yala National Park and some of the other national parks. Mineriya National Park in particular as well. On a busy day, it's really it's not fun at all, and it just it destroys the whole ethos of the trip if if you're stuck in a traffic jam chasing a leopard. And then, as I said before, access to some of those places, maybe go beyond chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Create an opportunity for people to experience behind the scenes Temple of the Tooth or behind the scenes Sigiriya. Would be fun, would be nice. It can be done sustainably. And those are the things that we need to do. The train can do with a bit of work as well. I mean, why not have people take the train from Galle to Colombo? Well, yes, there is a highway, but at the moment it's not an option because you're just not going to go in third class standing up all the way. So that needs a bit of work. And but there's not that much to do. I mean, the highway system is fabulous now. It's like you feel you're in Switzerland, surrounded by paddy. So I'll stop there. I mean, I think we're in a pretty sweet spot. There are a few things to do, but I mean, I don't think the country needs to triple its inventory of luxury rooms. And I actually don't think we need international brands to come define what luxury means for us. I think, frankly, to be honest, Sri Lanka's already got all the ingredients to satisfy the needs of people, not in terms of helicopters and seaplanes and stuff, which we have, of course, but in terms of what really matters to them, which is the authenticity of the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that, it's, of course, all relative. I'm based in Mumbai, so if you were to ask me, I think Sri Lanka's infrastructure is absolutely fantastic. I think that in terms of the offerings that they have for luxury travelers, again, absolutely world-class. If you look at examples like Bhutan, for instance, which, to me defines luxury travel. It really monitors the number of people who are able to come in. Their focus is very clearly on the high-end market. I think it's really important. That's something that we do incorrectly in India as well, is to actually measure tourism in terms of footfall and not in terms of revenue. And I think that as we go along now, especially post-COVID, that it's so important for us to ensure that actually measuring the success of tourism via the revenue dollars that it brings in, and not by footfall, because footfall is going to bring us all of the problems that got us here to start with. Over tourism, our sites are going to be too crowded. It's absolutely not sustainable. We're going to ruin everything that's left of nature. And truthfully, nature is what people are going to be traveling for. They're going to be traveling to places where there are no crowds, and where there are not very many tourists. So I think what Sri Lanka has at the moment, to me, seems fantastic. I would just urge them to continue doing what they're doing. And I think Meghal made a great point about not needing international brands to come in and define what luxury means. Sri Lanka has extraordinary, smaller groups of hotels that are absolutely fantastic, full of character, full of atmosphere. And I can tell you, even in India, we have so many Indian brands that are absolutely world class. In addition to lots of international great brands that have come in, and I think they do an amazing, amazing job. So I'm with you on that. I think that what they're doing is great, and they should just keep doing it.
All right, super. Thanks. Thank you for that, Divya. I will just move on to Kelly. Since you have been to Sri Lanka many times, you have worked with us. From the customer's perspective, and this is what we want to tell the world, etc. From customer's perspective, do you think Sri Lanka is associated or can be perceived as a luxury destination, or is there any work that we need to do to get that perception right? Where those countries, if you've seen in the map, compared to French Riviera, or maybe upmarket travel that you see sometimes in India or Thailand, etc. This Sri Lanka is seen as the luxury travel destination.
Yeah, I think Sri Lanka has so much potential because you have such amazing product. I think Miguel touched on it perfectly, exactly what my experience was. I think currently people probably don't see it as a luxury destination. I think most people would call it an adventure destination, and I think the luxury can follow. I think when in my research there was limited 5-star resorts to stay. We stayed mostly around sort of cute boutique accommodations. We went around the whole island. We found a few 5-star resorts at the end closer to the beach that had a few kids clubs because I travelled with a family. But you've got such an amazing product to market with the adventure travel, waterfalls and the trekking, the elephant safaris and the glamping and the rugged beaches. I've had a lot of people actually, I don't know if this is a good thing or not, refer to Sri Lanka as what Bali was perhaps sort of 20, 30 years ago, and it's going to be the new Bali. I don't know if that's what Sri Lanka wants to hear or it's the direction that you're taking, but I feel like it's largely still got that untouched feeling, and I think with a few more 5-star resorts, it definitely could become a luxury destination. It's just not quite marketed that way yet. But with the product that you've got, you can't buy that. You've got that already, so the hotels will come.
All right, great. Okay, great input from all of you. Justin, we talk. I mean, the literature talks about the old luxury traveler versus new luxury traveler, and they refer to many things in the context, and it may not necessarily be because of the age. What is your idea, and what's your take on what's the difference, at least, between the old luxury travel and the new luxury traveler? The main differences.
I think crises accelerate trends, and we've seen that happen here. I actually don't. I think there was a lot of things starting to happen already, so I don't think the difference is that great. But I would just say that it's what we touched on already, that it's less hedonistic. It'll be more purposeful travel, and I think people will slow travel. The pace of that travel will be key for them. So I think these were trends that we were seeing already. So that, as I said, there's not that much difference, but it's just going to be accelerated going forward.
All right. Okay. Divya, do you want to add something into that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with Justin. I think that we did see people sort of look more towards sustainability, definitely towards wellness. These, to me, seem to be the absolute key trends going forward. That's what we've seen from our market. I think we're also going to see a lot in the short term of what we're calling opportunistic travel, which is basically just traveling, the destinations that are going to do well are simply the destinations that are going to open up their borders to specific markets, because at the moment there are still so many restrictions on these borders. So I think that we're going to see a lot more short haul travel as opposed to long haul. And I think that a lot of the trends, as he rightly mentioned, had started earlier, and this crisis is simply accelerating them.
Okay, great input. Harry, I'll just move on to you. The International Luxury Travel Mart did some studies in the past and recently also published luxury travel report post-COVID, etc. Now we heard a lot about the experiences what Sri Lanka has to offer, etc. You, I mean, being an advocate of luxury travel around the world, and you have been working with many destinations, especially in Asia. Do you think, do you have any perspective of the role of these experiences that's going to drive the luxury travel, if that is the case, because Sri Lanka will have a very clear differentiator from experiences perspective. So what is your take on this, the role of experiences here in luxury travel, as IL team has published many publications on it?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Just to follow up on the last point as well. We did some research looking at what people, what is the current modern luxury travel looking for, and wellness, conscious travel, sustainability. These are all themes coming through from our audience at ILTM. So you guys are hitting the nail on the head there. These things are the key themes which people are thinking about and looking into. Moving on to the question, I guess about Asia and what can the people of Sri Lanka do, or what can you guys in Sri Lanka do to stand out or to make yourselves be the destination of choice for the luxury travel, the high net worth traveller. It's really playing on your heritage and your culture. Obviously there's so much choice in Asia. Asia's a fabulous continent. There's so many wonderful things throughout its history and culture. You look at places like Japan, Thailand, India, Sri Lanka, you've got the Indonesian islands. Everyone's got their own flavour, their own feeling. And therefore, I think the key in Sri Lanka is just playing on your history, your heritage, your values as a country, your values of people. That's the thing which I think resonates really with the high net worth traveller when they're picking these places. I mean, there's so much choice. We're spoiled for choice in Asia, really. Whether you want to go to a Indonesian island, whether you want to go somewhere to learn something culturally or historically. So I think the real key thing here is play to your strengths. And in Sri Lanka, the guys have been talking about your fantastic infrastructure, the fact that on this small island, you don't have to fly everywhere in Sri Lanka. You can do lots of things in a car. You can tour the island in a week and you can see so many wonderful things. So I think it's really just focusing on, those strengths where if you have to go to somewhere like India, which again is a fabulous country, you have to fly, it takes time traveling to get to everywhere. So, focus on those unique things about Sri Lanka, that you can do all these wonderful things in a short space of time. And that's important to the high net worth traveller because they're time poor. A lot of these people who come on the holidays, they're busy people. They haven't got time to take weeks and months of traveling, and just sort of, they've got their own life back at home or wherever they're coming from. So I think really try to focus on the strengths of Sri Lanka and what makes you guys unique. Focus on, if you like, focus on the fact your heritage and your culture and play to those strengths. That would be the key things I'd look at. And just to follow up as well, a bit of research we've done as part of ILTM. There was a question about earlier, is Sri Lanka seen as a luxury destination? It absolutely is. We've done research looking at which of the countries which are most desirable in terms of our audience who come to our shows, and Sri Lanka is a top 10, top 15 destination in the world for us in terms of that demand. So there is definitely, an appetite to come to your country based on the audience and the research we've done.
All right, great. So Sri Lanka is among top 10 for ILTM luxury travel.
It is. It is. In Asia, you've got Japan, which is of course is a big leader, and then of course you've got the Indonesian islands. Places like Maldives are always going to be popular. But when you come down sort of the next bracket of the places in Asia which are desirable, Sri Lanka's in that next group. Within that sort of top 10, top 15 destinations globally.
Great. Mikhail, I will move on to this question now. There is a huge movement again, you may call it experiential, etc. We call it transformative travel. You transform people from one to the other. It involves meditation, it involves more spiritual, yoga, etc. Things like so. A lot of destinations have actually added this element as part of the luxury travel experience. So what do you think in terms of Sri Lanka's ability and as well as a luxury travel experiences doing the transformative travel that impacting the whole luxury industry today?
Okay, so that's an interesting one. because it, along with wellness and sustainability, perhaps there was, there was a sort of transformational travel kind of thread there in terms of trends. And okay, so transformational travel travel has always been transformational. That's just, it's an interesting kind of way to frame it, but it always has been at least potentially transformational. I think a transformation is something that happens to you. It's not necessarily something that you can engineer. Even though travel companies have actually come up with very innovative ways of marketing and riding that transformational travel wave, I can think of a few. Go leave with a question, come back with the answer, so to speak, kind of framing it like that. And it's all connected with wellness and sustainability as well. Because when we talk about wellness, we're not just talking about being pampered at a spa. We're talking about mental health as well. And in a world we live in, which is we're bombarded with technology and so on and so forth. Until we lock down and slow down, which now we're actually also suffering from mental health, but from a different type. So transformational travel has a lot to do with wellness as well. Transformational travel we see, when kids go on gap years and come back completely transformed and, much more mature, knowing what they're going to do with their lives. Transformational travel we see when people are sitting by the pool and, the mum is mingling with somebody who's also around, another mum, and they have a conversation that leads one of the moms to think, actually, you know what, maybe we should take a 3-month sabbatical, and then that actually happens, and then that leads to some transformation, or so on and so forth. So travel is always transformational, and also potentially transformational, and it can happen in any given situation. So it's not just the country. So this is the important part. It's not just the interacting with the country that's transformational. It's also interacting with other travelers as well, and other factors like length of the trip is important as well. The more if you go for a weekend, a fat chance is going to be transformational. But if you go for 6 months, or if you go for a longer extended period of time, it can be very transformational. Sri Lanka is on the map for sabbaticals. We've had quite a lot of sabbaticals come through, and it's a country that, has all the ingredients. I think transformational experiences involve going really off the beaten path. Things like going on an expedition down the Mahaveli here in Sri Lanka for a few days, or going on a multi-day trek, through the tea country, where you're really out there, your blood is flowing and your mind is thinking, and you're thinking through your problems and you're coming up with answers. That is transformational travel. So the answer is absolutely yes, resounding yes. Sri Lanka is a place where this is happening already and has been for a while.
All right. Thank you, Miguel. I'll move to Kelly. We have seen some link between we call luxury family travel. Now, what are the trends and key features of luxury family travel that you see around there? Track this luxury family segment, given the fact that we have so many experience for children, etc. What is your take on that?
Yeah, we do a lot of luxury family travel, and one thing is, you do want to have fun with your children and you want to have adventure, but the other thing is you do want some downtime as a parent for yourself. And the last thing you want to do is send your kids into like a kids club at the hidden at the back of the resort in the dark little room, and they're just going to be sitting there watching TV or not doing anything very interesting. So a trend that we're seeing with the resorts that are doing a really good job making the kids club a focus, making these huge big kids clubs with water slides, and they've got a whole program of like interactive activities that are mostly outside. They're taking their kids on nature walks or shell collecting, or they're not just doing, your traditional art, they're doing art on coconuts or weaving different plants or leaves. And as a parent, when you are doing this with your kid and the program is educational, then it becomes like a key point or a key factor or a key driver to make you book that resort. And as your children get older, you start to book resorts based on what you think they're going to enjoy, and you take a bit of a back step on perhaps what you would have enjoyed in the past. So going on a holiday where we just lie on a beach for a week is not really going to cut it anymore. we need something with a little bit more adventure, and I think that's where Sri Lanka really has an opportunity to stand out. I think you're already doing a great job, but you can promote it more. There's a lot of people who still don't realise that Sri Lanka is a fantastic family holiday destination.
All right, thank you, Kelly. Those who are actually watching the live webinar here, you also can actually raise your questions. So my colleague will actually send it to me, and we can actually send it to the learner panel to answer any questions you have. So please log on to the Cinnamon Facebook site and ask your questions, so that will be actually sent back to the each speaker. So now we move on to the last side of the discussion today, where we have the COVID. So I kept it for the last, the best for the last. So I'll now move on to basically to Harry and Justin this question. How would the luxury travel industry look after COVID? After months of austerity and isolation, will the customer be willing to travel back to their various places that they actually appreciated? Or will there be actually some sort of a reduction of travel? They go to like more short haul and remove for example, the concept of going to multi-destinations. Most of the luxury travelers did. So do you see what type of an impact? I'll start with basically Harry as well to ask what is the real impact that you see on COVID, by COVID to luxury travel segment?
Well, I think first of all, this is sort of the $1 million question, isn't it? What's the future going to look like? How's our world going to change because of COVID? And it's obviously nobody has the answer right now. I think what's likely to happen is in the short term is that people are going to do shorter haul travel. People are not going to do long haul flights. They're not going to want to do layovers. They're not going to want to, they're not, if they go on these longer distance journeys, that's going to be something which is going to be more difficult. And I also think that people are going to want something which is really, really private. So our research, our data looks at things like private villas, private yachts, private jets. These are the kind of things in the top segment which people are going to be looking at because they're going to feel that it's safe, it's clean, there's less interaction, there's less chance of spreading COVID. So I think in the short term, people are still going to want to travel, but they're going to want to probably travel somewhere that's not as far away in case they need to get back. I think also they're going to be looking for places where they feel isolated. And Miguel made a great point earlier that obviously a big part of traveling is meeting other people, of course. That is such an important thing that, you don't just go traveling just to go by yourself. Interacting with others is key. So I think any destination or any place which is trying to, make itself welcome post-COVID has got to try and find a balance between making sure there's enough interaction and activity and adventure and people can do things, but also making it a safe, a comfortable and a place where people feel that they're obviously in good hands and in a good environment effectively. I think longer term, the luxury segment has shown to bounce back strong. We've obviously had previous crises, nothing as bad as COVID, I admit, but in any previous crisis, our industry has rebounded. The top of the market does want to keep on traveling. It is a privilege, as Justin said earlier. So I think the key is in the short term, really trying to be as flexible, manage expectations on being clean, on making people feel safe, and basically giving that image of, if you come and stay with us, you're going to be in good hands. And I think longer term, hopefully once we overcome this pandemic, in a funny way, it probably means that people are going to want to travel more than ever because actually that's been taken away from them. And now people suddenly realise that it maybe is a privilege to go travelling, and it's not something which can just happen whenever you like. It can be taken away from us by a global disaster like this. So it's a really difficult question to answer, but I think being flexible and adaptable to the situation is the most important thing. And when we look at the research, when we've spoken to our LTM audience, things like family travel, private beaches, private yachts, private jets, shorter haul, easier to get home, flexibility with the travel booking, flexibility on what you can do. Those are the key things which are coming through. So if you are a DMC, if you are a GM of a property, these are all things you need to be thinking about with regards to your offering.
Okay, so what you're basically noting is that the concept of privacy in luxury travel. So that's basically coming up as well. People like to have their privacy, starting from an airline to yacht to maybe a smaller hotel, boutique property, etc. So, Miguel, do you think as a
Yes,
destination,
can I
since
just
you're in the
jump in,
destination, well,
please?
can Sri Lanka provide? Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Justin.
Can I just jump in there? I agree with everything that Harry says.
Yes, please come.
I would add that we work in the hospitality industry, and I think that the last three letters are key there. And if you take those three letters out, you're left with hospital. And so, yes, we have a duty of care to our clients, but if we make it look like some sort of sci-fi film, then they're not going to be interested. And I think you've got three travelers at the moment: those who definitely want to travel, those who don't want to travel until there's a vaccine, or they're maybe 22, they're going to travel, and those who are uncertain. And those who really got to market to very cleverly. And if you give them a long list of safety procedures, that's going to scare the hell out of them. They're not going to want to go. But if you can, through video or social media, just show what it's actually like on the ground, and that there is some sort of sense of normality there, then I think you'll convince them to travel.
Okay, great. I was going to come back to that question. Yeah, so it's both for you, Justin and Harry. So the privacy is very important. I was asking this question from Miguel as well. So as a destination, Miguel, do you think that Sri Lanka can fulfill the expected privacy in luxury travel?
Yeah. I mean, again, I think it can. I think it can. It can because I mean, it's not Maldives. Okay, so that's one thing, because when we talk about privacy, sometimes I think the celebrities come to mind, that extreme privacy, that they definitely don't want to even be seen, in any public space, or if so can it fulfill those expectations for those sorts of people that tend to go to the Maldives and lock themselves up in an island, and then that's where they get 100% privacy, or on a yacht. So I mean, it depends on how you want to experience Sri Lanka. I mean, it can, in terms of, you can book out hotels, the bungalows and the boutique hotels, and you can have them to yourself. There's some fabulous villas as well. So I think in that respect, in terms of room inventory and hotels and things, definitely can fulfill it. It depends on how you want to experience Sri Lanka. If you do want complete privacy, then you need to work with an operator that is going to help you, make the most of the country while giving you that, and it may involve, in certain instances, if you come in the thick of Christmas, well, and you want complete privacy, well, like right now, I can't close down, Sigiriya for you, so that's not going to happen. So you might have to go to a alternative site. But the Cultural Triangle has more than, there's hundreds and hundreds of archaeological sites. Some of the more well-known ones, but there are many that are not. And that's not me saying that. That's was actually the boss telling me that there's hundreds of archaeological sites. So anyway, so that would be my answer. But yeah, I mean, to a very large degree, we can definitely fulfill the promise of privacy. No problem. Yeah.
All right. Okay, great. So with that question, the Sri Lankans, actually, most of the hotels, some travelers and especially luxury travelers are basically concerned on the safety standards of the hotels and the expectation. So how can the hotel be more creative in actually balancing the industry standards of safety with satisfactory guest experience? Are there any creative ways that it can be handled? Kelly, would you like to comment on that?
Okay, I can't really talk on the guest experience side. I can only talk as a customer checking in, but I think I agree on what was just said, is you don't want to make it look like a hospital. You want people to come and have an enjoyable experience. So there's a lot of chat in Singapore about masks, and Singapore's about to open up for staycations, and everyone's sort of wondering, is it really worth it if I have to wear a mask sitting around by the pool, taking it on and off, taking it off just to jump in the pool and put the mask back on again, things like that. I think that's going to really deter a lot of people. I think the ones who want to travel, they're not scared to travel anymore, but they're aware of the extra risks, so it needs to be a worthwhile travel. So they're going to pick a travel that to them is worthwhile. It's a destination that they really want to go to. I think luxury wins in this scenario, and they're going to spend a bigger amount on this particular trip that's worthwhile to them, but they're probably going to travel less frequently. But it just needs to be the experience on the ground, and I just bring it back to it being worthwhile for them to travel. and they don't want it to be policed too heavily, but they want to feel safe.
All right, great. We're talking about Harry. Do you want to add something as well? So, I mean, do you have any kind of based on your study that you have done? Various hotels have done any kind of innovative ways of overcoming some of those hotels in certain places?
Sorry, dude, I think you cut out a little bit there, so I'm not sure exactly what you said, but I think just to add a little bit more to what.
Yeah, no, my question was basically based on your study of what IL team has done. Have you seen any innovative approaches by hotels to overcome some of the standards that we have introduced in terms of safety and sanitation?
If you look at some of the global health hotel groups, a number of them have pushed out messages of what they're doing. There's nothing, unfortunately, which comes exactly to mind, which is super innovative. It's the usual things you'd expect, like anybody in the workplace or in a hotel in any building at the moment. Thinking about sanitization, thinking about obviously the cleaning processes, and how often you're basically making sure everything is as sterile as possible. A number of brands are sort of almost taking advantage of saying, look, we're going to have extra staff, we're going to be doing all these extra processes to make it safer. And I think the point Justin and Kelly were saying about, you don't want to make it feel like it is a hospital, or, you feel like you're sort of somewhere and you can't enjoy yourself. And I think that's a good point. But I also think that culturally, depending on who the traveller is, that is really important. So, for example, if you're Western European or American, your attitude will be different to someone who's Asian or Japanese or from Australia. So I think again, this is where you have to be really intelligent about how you tailor what your offering is. So for me personally, someone who's British, I'm not too worried about the masks. I'm not too worried about wearing gloves and that thing, because culturally for me, that's not a big thing. But of course, if you're Korean or Japanese, it's absolutely massive. So I think again, it's tailoring your solution to the traveller you're dealing with. I think that's probably the key thing to think about here. And therefore, again, if you're a hotel, or if you're if you're a business which has a lot of business coming in from Asia, for example, with Sri Lanka, you probably do, because that's obviously the closer market to you. That's the kind of thing you need to think about. And obviously, if you're talking to a European customer, again, you probably need to slightly emphasize the points which are going to make it more appealing to them. So it's being smart about who you're dealing with. That's probably the best advice I can give, really, from that point of view.
Can I just jump in with something?
Just last question from you is that, yeah, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to point everyone to one sort of interesting case study, which I think is really quite smart, is the Oberoi group of hotels, which I'm sure everybody knows are a big part of ILTM as well. And the Oberoi has actually put out, they tied up with Bureau Veritas in France or Switzerland, and they've actually put up a list of all of their new systems and processes post-COVID. There's about 400 different touch points in the guest experience that they have actually made public and put onto their website for all of their audiences and frankly competitors to see, and perhaps to look at them, follow. And part of this, I think, is actually very smart, because for those travelers that are slightly wary of traveling, those, as you mentioned, are still on the fence, those that need to be assured that these systems are not just in place, but they're actually being implemented every single day, that people are being rigid and vigorous about that. Those are all listed on the website for anyone who's interested to see. But if you're not, it's very easy to just close that window and continue exploring Oberoi hotels like you normally would. And I think that's a great balance of being able to give really exhaustive information to those of whom care about it, and making sure that it still doesn't seem very sort of hospital and clinical for everybody else. So I think that's a good example.
All right. Okay. Just Harry, I mean, if somebody wants to, look at the luxury travel and come back, go after them, post-COVID, once things are settled, what ILTM can provide for such people? What is the platform for people who don't know, and how can you actually try and help the hoteliers and the DMCs who are working in the destination to go and actually find these luxury travelers?
So it's obviously great to hear a number of you have been to ILTM in the past, and for some of you, you've come very regularly. You know, we're a platform where we're really trying to bring the industry together, and that is more important than ever, really, in this isolated period. So we are planning to go ahead with our event as usual in December in Cannes. And you know, with anybody who wishes to come to the show this year, it's a real opportunity, because there are a number of destinations or a number of if you like, luxury owners who will not be coming because of the situation with COVID. But there is still a huge demand from our audience and our travel buyers who want to come to our show. We're actually going to probably be turning people away this year because of the demand that, you know, that the advisors or the agents who want to come, because for them, they need to come to an event like ours to come and see all the different destinations across the world. So, you know, the advantage of coming to a show like ours is that you're obviously going to see a number of agents, you know, and have face-to-face meetings, which of course, especially in our segment, is absolutely critical. You know, we've all got quite used to doing these video calls and doing these online webinars, but ultimately a face-to-face interaction is critical in terms of building a relationship and building that connectivity with an agent or with an advisor. So, you know, and then I think then the other key thing about what ILTM can bring is media attention. We have some of the very best media in the world come to the show, and it's an opportunity again where you know, you can get your story across. We're particularly committed this year to give more opportunities for smaller businesses and smaller companies to have that interaction with the media, and for you to tell your story about what you're doing in your destination. And of course, you guys, particularly in Sri Lanka, you know, we've been supported by the Tourism Bureau at ILTM for a number of years. They've been a great partner of ours at ILTM, and hopefully again they can come this year and support the local businesses and, you know, and the luxury products in Sri Lanka in 2020. So, you know, hopefully we can see some of you at the show this year, even in these difficult times of COVID, because I can tell you from the data and research we've done, there is still a big demand for our agents to come and meet people, come and find out what, you know, where they can travel, where's safe to travel, where's cool to travel, and that's what you get at an event like ours. It's a real coming together of the entire industry.
All right, Harry, do you have those who can't make physical to the event? Are you planning to have any virtual event this time?
This is a good question. So at the moment we're actually probably going to look at a sort of a hybrid solution, possibly, where we will still have the normal event face to face, but of course we're going to try and make it more digital so it can be more accessible for more people. This hasn't been confirmed yet, or hasn't been sort of finalized at this point, but we will be trying to make it as welcoming as we can to as many people as possible. So we will be doing more online features, more online interaction. So I just keep an eye out on the ILTM website for any updates on this. And for any of you who are interested, please feel free to contact me, or, you know, or to send me an email. And once we have more information, I can share that with you.
All right, great. So with that note, the last questions to all of you, I'll just throw one, starting with Miguel. If the objective is to find the luxury traveler, what would, if you are a business in Sri Lanka, what is that one thing that you will do? You've got 30 seconds.
To find the luxury traveler? Okay, well, I take the product approach, you know, just keep on developing really great products in Sri Lanka. And, you know, we've been doing it for 15 years. I've been doing it for 15 years, and I still, there's lots, you know, I'm working on lots of different things, you know, long distance trails and bike rides and, you know, all sorts of other things. So you know, we'll just keep on, you know, churning the wheel and working with the country and finding more interesting and innovative ways to present it to people and to engage. And then, you know, through our partners in the press and through our partners at the ILTM and the shows, and through our partners like just in the trade, you know, we will be finding those travelers.
All right, great. Divya, what is that one thing that you will do if you have to find the luxury traveler?
Well, our audience is such that we speak with them every day, but I would recommend that, you know, India, of course, is a very large source market for Sri Lanka. And we actually, as Condé Nast Traveler, recently did, about actually more than a month ago, a survey of our own audience. and we found that the number one destination they wished to travel to was the Maldives, and Sri Lanka was actually not very far behind at all. And that is, I think, very, very telling. It's a big hope that we have an air corridor or travel corridor open up between India and Sri Lanka. So I think the Indian market, I can tell you, is absolutely ready to travel. So I would imagine that a lot of your first luxury travelers to come back to Sri Lanka will be coming in through India. And again, please feel free to get in touch if there's any questions or anything that I can help with. I'd be more than happy to help.
All right, great. Kelly, what is your one thing that you can to find the luxury traveler for everyone who's watching this webinar?
Absolutely. So all of the above, what everybody has said, make sure you have a very creative and interesting product. But one step before that is they've got to find you first. So we're all about digital. So if they're researching online, just have strong SEO in the luxury keyword search so they can find you and then have an amazing product.
Okay, great. And Justin, what is your idea? What's your advice?
The key is storytelling. Don't tell them, but show them. I think you've got a wonderful country full of personality, full of smiles, and travel is about people. So in your story, bring that out about the people. That's why people travel, for people.
All right. And finally, Harry, do you want to add something? What is that one thing that you can recommend?
Well, I think all the guys make great points. I think the key is really just, engage and listen, try to really understand what people are feeling, what they're thinking about at the moment, and, just listen to what they're telling you and then try to really tailor your solution or your offering as much as you can. Now, of course, Kelly makes a great point. They've got to find you first. And now, of course, a lot of that is, you've got to be proactive in this. You've got to be active on social media. You've got to be active online. You've got to be talking to your customers. You've got to be networking. All these things are more important than ever. And then when you do interact with customers, just listen to them, understand how they feel, and then try to tailor your solution to their needs.
All right, great. With that note, I think we have come to the end, and somebody actually looking to this summarize it. Final message is: if you are looking for a luxury traveler, then these are things you need to look at. Product, go to India, look at for the Indians, SEO, and the story showing and storytelling, and finally the engage. Product, India, SEO, story showing, and engage. Do those 5, you might get the numbers. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank all of you who have tuned into us for the 4th edition of the Cinnamon Future of Tourism webinar series, which we are going to engage with the industry and share our knowledge. And thank you all of you joining from various parts of the world with short notice to enhance the product and services for the entire industry of Sri Lanka and those who actually logged on to us from various parts of the world. All the best, stay safe, and hope we'll be able to travel as before, as earlier. And remember, the luxury is only a perception, but the actuality is how you experience that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.